One of the biggest questions when it comes to implementing AI in business is where to start. What is the most valuable thing that you can take that you currently do and give it to an AI or an AI agent to make it more efficient, to make it maybe cost less depending on what you're doing? What's the place to start? This is a great way of figuring that out. We're going to take about a month. I think actually I'm just slipping into the second month now of recording our business as usual processes. What do we do day to day, and how long does it take, and how complicated really is it? So that we can figure out which things do we repeat most often, take longest, and could be made much, much faster. This is the piece of software that I'm using to do it. It's called Scribe. It's a really simple thing. It basically records the screen and captures the workflow that you're doing, turning it into a step-by-step recipe with screenshots and with details as to what you typed, what you clicked, what came next. It does have a free option, which is great if you're using only a web page, but it limits you to being able to export it. We went straight for the paid option. I knew I have desktop apps that I need to record, so I want the desktop recorder, and I know that I need to export it in a manner that offers some flexibility. For example, Markdown, perfect for feeding it to an AI later. That's something I'm going to be doing. So why Scribe compared to maybe writing it down on a bit of paper or, just keeping a notepad open on the computer? Mostly it records the actual things you're doing. It records the actual clicks. It records the actual having to click over there, having to click over there, forgetting that the information was in this place, having to go and get it from that place, copying and pasting this. All the things that maybe you don't sort of think of if you're just a fast computer user. You've forgotten how complicated perhaps it has become to do the basic things you do often. It could be to the point of, for example, I have a CRM that is not very good at email in that it offers me what is basically a 1 inch by 3 inch space on the screen to write emails, which is frustrating when you forget a piece of information and it's in the email chain, making it really, really hard to go and get that information, scroll around, find it, and then find where you were typing and type it again. I think it's a fairly known limitation with the CRM. It's just not that great for email. I think a lot of people just don't use their CRM for email. They have Outlook or they have Gmail and they go in there native. We don't, and we use IMAP, and I would like to be able to use my CRM for it because then everything's all in one place. It'd be much nicer. But it's one of those friction points that I've noticed and feel regularly. But there are others that I don't. And so Scribe records what you're doing, and then when you go back and look at it later, it can be somewhat embarrassing to see how complicated and inefficient it's become to do something fairly simple. So, big advantage over a piece of paper and writing it down and being really, really precise about everything you're doing and noting that manually is you don't have to note it manually. Obviously, it's automatic. But the big advantage means it's out of the way. You're not even thinking about it recording anymore. You literally press a button, start recording, and go. Then, when you're done, you hit done and you give it a title. And for our purposes, I don't work on it anymore right now. I'm just going to save it. I'll be processing it later. So, as I said, I needed to use the Pro. There's probably a trial available if you go through the email chain that you'll receive. And at some point, there may be a trial, but we just went straight for it. The installation is pretty straightforward. Simply sign up, get started, and it will offer you the opportunity to download it and install it. I'm on Windows 11 Pro. It was absolutely straightforward. It now sits in the background and it opens at startup, which is really useful to remind me to do it. And you simply press the Start Capture button and go. I do have a couple of specific setup steps that I do advise doing. Otherwise, there's information missing that would be useful in what it records. You can capture the keyboard. That's not checked by default. I know it means if you enter a password, it's going to be recorded, so be aware of that. There's a pause button on the recorder, so if you remember, you can pause, enter your password. I've only got this include Scribe in capture checked for when I am working remotely. I realized that whatever hook it uses to show the screen capture works fine at the computer, but I remotely access this computer on a weaker laptop when I'm out and about, and I use it to do workflows. I wanted it recording those workflows, but I couldn't stop them after I started them because the overlay wasn't showing. I then clicked this, and then it was showing while using remote access. So that's a useful tip. It's worth considering whether you want to use voice transcription if you want to add more detail as you go, but I think then you lose on the getting out of the way and letting you do what you normally do that the platform offers. So personally, although we've got it enabled here, I mostly don't use it in practice. I just let it record what I do, and I'll come back to the detail later. I do notice that if you use something like Voice Meter and have an awful lot of inputs, it truncates it. So you do have to guess somewhat from which input is which, but just try it. You'll be able to see your volume, and that will tell you whether it's recording the right microphone for you. So what do you record? We've tried to record what we consider to be fairly atomic workflows. Not individual actions, that would be kind of pointless, but short workflows like running one payroll or doing one monthly bookkeeping review, or doing one review of the email inbox. I haven't done multiple examples of each because once I've done it once, I've probably got all I need in that first one anyway. Every time you do one of these self-contained workflows, just hit Start Capture. I've got multiple screens. I am going with all screens generally. And you'll see we've got this little control here on the left. This is where you can pause it if you don't want to enter your password. This is where you can click when you're done. You can get it to transcribe your voice actively if you want it to. I think that comes in as a separate step. Again, I haven't done that. And then just start what you're doing. So, for example, if you need to check your email, this might be where you open your browser. We might let's go to a Gmail account that I don't use very often. I may go here. I've got a new email. I may take a look at it. I may read the detail. Decide to do a task. I might go and add that in my task manager. Or I might follow the link to my console. Okay, as soon as you're done with whatever it is, you complete the capture. It will finalize the Scribe and show you the workflow that it's recorded for it. So although it's a really trivial example, it's nice and easy for me to show. There's no client information here, but it does show really exhaustively what you've done. You had to click on the browser. This was me just removing my old conversation history, so you weren't seeing it. So I'll delete that step. That's not important. Enter Gmail, press down. You see how exhaustive this is? I don't think this is a great candidate for simply record and then send to a teammate for how to do something. But I do think it's so exhaustive that if an AI reviews the output, it will have a really good start on what we were doing in the many steps we went through. It will be able to summarize this into something more reflective of the true workflow. So I think the point here is to really try not to be unnatural about all of that little admin that you do on the computer. Let it record everything. Let it see all the different flicking between windows that you do. Let it see the excruciating detail it takes to do something fairly simple because of where your data is stored. We're realizing as we do this that our data is stored in too many places, and that's adding friction to all workflows. That elevates that as a clear candidate for something we must take care of as we implement AI and automation in the business. So this is an example of some of the workflows. I can't really easily go into it to too much detail without revealing lots of client information. We have things like checking a self-assessment tax year overview so that we can report it to the client, increasing billing, deciding how to correct VAT treatment for a bill, and some email triage, processing payroll. Each of these is a short start to finish job, the kind of thing I would enter onto a task list and then tick off as one item when I'm done it. Each of these is recorded as a workflow, and each of them is something that AI can later review for us and decide if there are any better, more efficient ways of doing this. So as an example, I'll open this payroll one. We only use HMRC basic tools for a couple of director payrolls. It's just as easy as it needs to be for those. And I noticed in the top right here was a button to improve the workflow with AI. So when I click that, it does a little bit of analysis itself in the platform. It suggests that we need to enable the password manager autofill. We've already got that. It must have missed it. We need to autosave and auto-name the payslip PDFs to the client folder. So a PDF virtual printer with autosave rules could eliminate the save as. This is really, really tiny little automations. I think this would still be in the hell of semi-automation. It wouldn't actually be an automated start-to-end process. So I don't think this is realistically going to give you the kind of output that really helps you to automate your process. I think it's a bunch of ideas of automating steps in what it's seen, and we need something a bit broader. We need something that looks at the entirety of running payroll and says, you could do this much more efficiently if the workflow looked like this instead, rather than if we automated some steps, which is the kind of thing we're getting here. The only context that I have given to this recording is the title, which I've decided what it is. There is a description that comes underneath. I've noticed recently it tries to automatically make a description too. It's usually not quite accurate. I think that's because we have to click through so many pieces of software and juggle so much information in our heads and put it places. It doesn't necessarily make it obvious at first glance for probably a fairly weak AI model to know what we're doing. It doesn't have the context of our business. It only sees a bunch of screenshots, has no idea about who we are or what we're doing, and it's guessing, and it kind of looks like guesswork. So we need to bring our context to it and bring this out of this tool later to an AI tool that can help summarize it and give us some suggestions of what to do. So later, the next thing that we'll be doing after we've recorded a whole bunch of these over this month, our recurring processes, we'll be looking at getting that information, what could be better, helping figure out what the gap could be, how much quicker could it be. You can see here it tells us that this took 13 minutes just to run a fairly short payroll. It should be so much quicker, and of course it should be fairly automated. I say automated because I know in this example, it was the same monthly payroll as it always is. There wasn't any particular changes. There were no queries, no new events. There should be a short, repeatable, essentially no human involved step other than reviewing the final outcome. While I'm recording this, I'm also, of course, keeping an eye on a bunch of AI news that I have out of interest anyway, and seeing tools like OpenClaw, which is a bit of a security nightmare, but there are alternatives that are better with their security model. NVIDIA just released something called NemoClaw, which is a bit of a wrapper around OpenClaw that should give it guardrails. If you've not heard of either of those, it's basically an agentic AI platform that runs on your computer or on a virtual server. You can reach it through text messages or whatever, or a web interface, and give it instructions that it then goes and carries out. You can teach it skills the same way that you can teach skills or obtain skills for Claude Code and Claude Cowork. So it is a great candidate to be able to do things in a more automated basis in future, where an AI is needing to run the workflow. There, of course, is old-fashioned automation. Some of these things should be a clicked button and a deterministic flow happens. So we want a balance of those things. We'll be able to review all of the various things we've recorded at the end of the month and figure out where do we start and what do we do first. So stick around for that, and I'll see you in the next one. If you like what we've been doing here, hit the like button. And if you want to keep up to date with our progress and see actual walkthroughs with implementation details, hit subscribe. If you want to get involved, go check out our school.com community link in the video description. We're right at the beginning with this, so it's completely free right now, and you get a chance to help shape this early community of fellow business owners and operators actively implementing AI right now. There'll be tons more interactions and content there than we could ever squeeze into a YouTube video description or comment section, so go take a look, and don't be afraid to join and introduce yourself. All we ask is that you be on the path of actually implementing AI in your business. But if you just want to keep watching here, this is the full current implementing AI playlist, and this is our most recent video. Enjoy.